In this exercise, we're going to take a look at a market, in this case a market for hot chocolate, and we're going to see what happens when something other than price changes. Now, if you'd like, make sure you find and open up and either view or print out a little one-page handout that you can find in class materials week 2 in the instructional area. You'll find a document called Changes in or Shifts in Demand, I believe. If you open that up, you'll see that it's talking about the market for hot chocolate, and it poses sort of 5 little short scenarios. And what we're going to do is cover the first one just to give you a sense of how this works. So here we are looking at the market for hot chocolate, and as you see, we have a demand curve and a supply curve. They both behave as expected, with demand as the price goes down, demand increases. As the price goes up, demand decreases, and then the reverse is true for supply. So fine, both of these curves talk about the relationship between price and either the quantity demanded or the quantity supplied. But now we're going to say, what happens if something other than price changes? In the little worksheet that you can find on Blackboard, the first question says, what happens if the weather turns colder? And we're looking at the market for hot chocolate. Well, it's pretty easy to assume that as a result of colder weather that people would be more interested in hot chocolate. So what we're going to do is draw a new demand curve. Let me just do that right now. And I'll make it dotted just to distinguish it from the other one. So now we have a new demand curve. It's shown in blue on the screen, and I've drawn it going to the right. What that means is that demand is shifted to the right. Let's draw another line just to emphasize that, a little arrow, and put a little arrow point on it. So there, we've shown that the demand curve is shifted to the right. What that means is that at any price, whether it's a high price of $4.50 or a low price of $1.50, that at any price level there'll be more demand for hot chocolate in colder weather. Now notice in the description of the little worksheet, all we've done is talk about one thing that's happened, in this case colder weather. And what that colder weather does is change people's interest in or appetite for hot chocolate. We actually haven't said anything that has to do with a change in supply other than a change in price. We're not talking about a change in the price cost of making hot chocolate or anything else. The supply has remained the same. But look what's happened as a result to the prices of hot chocolate. Now in our first demand curve, we have this dotted line here that shows the equilibrium price, $2.50, and at that price a certain volume or quantity of hot chocolate is consumed. But now what's happened is that demand has shifted to the right. There's an increased demand for hot chocolate. Well, what we're going to say now is that we're going to move from a point here that I'm going to label E for equilibrium. And that what that represents is the original equilibrium price for and equilibrium quantity. But now, as a result of the change in demand, we're going to have a new equilibrium point. And how about if we label that F? Or actually E prime, I guess that's what I should do. So we'll call that E prime. So now we have a new equilibrium point, and this represents the new place where the new demand curve intersects the existing supply curve. Well, what happens as a result? Well, as it turns out, our price, our equilibrium price, is going to go up. Let's see if we can draw that fairly well. Yeah, let's go here. Let's try to move this down just a tad. Okay, and then we'll dot it. So there's our new equilibrium price, and let's draw another line to show our new equilibrium quantity. And we'll dot that as well. Okay, so let's take a look at what this is doing. The equilibrium price is, in our new demand curve, is higher, somewhere between $3 and $3.50, and the quantity demanded has gone higher and quantity consumed has gone higher. Now, if you step away from the graphs and step away from economics, that just makes sense. In a if a market for hot chocolate at Starbucks or something like that, or some other place, if the weather turns colder, we'd expect there to be more demand for hot chocolate, and it's probably reasonable to expect that as a result of that increased demand, there's an increased price for it and an increase in quantity demanded. Now remember, there's only one thing that's changed here, and that has been something that affected demand, and so we just had the one change in the curve, in this case the demand curve. Notice that we didn't change the supply curve. If you follow the rest of the little problems in this one-page handout, you'll see that in each one of those problems only one thing is changing, either a change in demand or a change in supply. Don't get tempted to draw a change in both. In this case, nothing has changed in the supply curve as a result of the cold weather. Remember, the supply curve is just what the manufacturers or the sellers are willing to bring to the market. And in this case, the colder weather just means they're going to enjoy an increase in price. And as a result of that, they'll be willing to sell more hot chocolate, but we're not going to see a change in supply. So for each of the other examples in this one-page worksheet, just one curve is going to change, either the demand curve or the supply curve. And what we're really trying to focus here on is the idea that there are things other than price that can affect a market. In this case, it was an increase in demand brought about by cold weather. As you'll see in some of the other examples, there could be other things that could change either demand or supply. And what we've found is that the market will change from one equilibrium price, in this case E, to a new equilibrium, and once it finds that new equilibrium, we'll see in this case that the price has gone up and quantity's gone up. Some of the other examples, you're going to see quantity and price move in other directions. So take a look at the other examples, see if you can work them out. If you have any questions, please send me an email or ask a question online in the discussion board.